Hey everyone, Namaste and welcome to our broadcast of the chess.com Global Championship. I'm your host Soumya Swaminathan and with me is Grandmaster Srinath Narayanan. Hello Sri, huge day today. Vidit Gujrathi playing against Alexei Sarana and Mitrabha Guha playing against Jan Christoph Duda. What are your views about today's match?
Very exciting matchups coming, Soumya. And as I mentioned recently, we have had a bit of resurgence in with its play in recent times. Maybe resurgence is not the best word, but a sort of remake of with its play in recent times. And I'm very excited to see that version coming again. Excited to see if Vidit will continue on with his E4 knight C6 stuff and how he's going to go with today's matchup. And the matchup between Mitrabha and Duda also promises to be super exciting. And apart from the Indian encounters, we also have the matchup between Wang Hao against Peter Liko. So that's interesting. I'm sure we all watched Liko a lot in commentary on YouTube and other places in recent times. But to watch him play, I think this will be the first time for a lot of people who are just watching online events.
Of course, and there is the famous, there is a legendary story. It's a joke, but it could also be real life, where a patient goes about Peter Lecco, where a patient goes to a doctor saying he has been suffering heart problems, and the doctor recommends him to watch Peter Lecco's game so that he feels calmer and his nerves are under control. So Peter Lecco, known for his very calm, solid playing style, game is always under control and he converts the advantage bit by bit. It's going to be fun to watch him play once again after a really long time.
Yeah, and modern doctors recommend Anish Giri, who's kind of like his successor. I remember Anish had a match against Peter in one of the World Cups back in the day, the knockout event, and Peter was so much in awe and praise of Anish. He was like, he's so good at everything I do, but younger and better. He said it in Peter's accent. He's so good at everything I do, but younger and better. And I'm sorry about the terrible impression, but yeah, I heard something like this. I'm not sure about the authenticity of it, but yeah, that gives you an idea of how Peter's playing style is. He takes on Wang Hao, who played in the 2020 and 2021 candidates because we had that tournament spread across 2 years, and that's also going to be a pretty exciting match. So we have these three matchups happening today, and we'll be focusing a lot on the Indian matches, the Vidit matchup against Sarana. And it's also exciting to see how Mitrabha will do against Duda, as Mitrabha hasn't been a regular on this stage, the international stage.
Yeah, but Mitrabha actually had a fantastic result in the World Rapid and Blitz. I think that's where he came to everybody's notice in the international stage. I think he finished 18th, and he was higher than most other Indians in that tournament. So he surprised everybody by how good he is at faster time controls. And I have actually played against him in a rapid game. And I was shocked to see the speed at which he played. He was not thinking for even one move. And he had, whether it was a known position or not, it did not matter to him at all. He was just playing so fast, so confidently. And later I got to know actually that's been his playing style since he was very young. So I feel he has a chance to put up a really good fight in this time control, especially in today's match. And that's why we cannot count him as the weaker link. He's surely an underdog in the match, but he has a chance to surprise Duda with his play.
Absolutely. And I think this is the first time he's playing an opponent like this, and I think Mitrabha's playing style is kind of similar to how Pavel Pankrato's playing style is for people who are not familiar with him. He plays with a similar speed. He has those. He has that kind of a funky repertoire, and I think they have some similarities. Now, Pavel caused a big upset by defeating the five-time world champion Vishy Anand, and Mitrabha will also be backing himself to cause a similar upset
Nice.
against a player of similar level.
And some news. There is a news that I'm getting in that he's actually trained under you briefly. Is that true, Shri?
Yeah, we are working together. We spent a few hours before his previous tournament and on this match as well. So we have spent some time, and uh,
You know,
I'm I'm also
I'm enjoying this that literally every player we cover has been your student in some form or the other. And this is just so great to get these insights from you. For example, you've also been VD's second in the past, and now as well you have trained with him and the capacity of being the captain of the Indian team. So could you share some insights into that as well?
Uh, so I have to be very careful in my choice of words in terms of not inadvertently revealing something that I shouldn't be revealing. So I think that's one of the most challenging things in this dual role. But that said, it's also really convenient for me that I'm going to be watching these games closely anyway. So to do it while commentating, it's double the delight and double the fun for me. So that's exciting. And aside from that, yeah, a lot of opinions I bring or a lot of things I say are also based on the insights I receive from spending time with them. Like knowing that Vidit is transitioning and it is in process, seeing that fire in Vidit. All these things are things I watch closely and personally in recent times. So a lot of these things are not so visible outside, like how much Vidit is motivated, how eager he is, and how much of his priority is in playing chess, in getting better at chess. And these are things I've been watching closely, and I do bring those insights from watching it directly from there. So you can trust me on these things when I say them. Chat.
Chad is asking, are both the matches played at the same time? Is VD's match right now? Abdullah Chabria wants to know. Yes, both the matches are at the same time. They'll happen simultaneously. Yeah, we are starting. We are expecting kickoff anytime soon. So stick with us, please. Um,
In fact, one of the matches have already just begun. The match between Wang Hao and Peter Liko. We have the first moves played in these games. Peter Liko has been a former World Championship challenger in 2004. That was an epic match against Vladimir Kramnik, and he sticks to his one e4 e5. He used to play a lot of Petrov back in those days, and then he played a lot of Marshall Gambit. So that's his go-to opening, his trusted and reliable opening. And I think he's going to continue on with the Marshall.
nice. And there's so much support for VD in the chat. It's really nice to see all the messages. Keep it coming, guys. It's super nice for the players to also see all these messages. You know, they sometimes come back and watch the commentary and read the chat as well. So it's keep the messages going for both the players. And Kapil Chaudhary says that just went back and checked Srinath.
Let's not read that out, no? I think that's one of my most embarrassing commentary moments, such a fail. But okay, at least I tried.
Hey, it was fun. I liked it, but I liked your Arjun impression much more. I agree with him. It was bang on.
Yeah, Arjun's impression I can do on point most of the times. I've spent so much time with him that it comes so easily and naturally. Uh, Peter's impression, I think we should leave it to Leon Mendonca.
And maybe before the matches begin, maybe it's time to make some predictions. Chat, we want to know what you think as well. There was a question in the chat asking what's Duda versus Guha chances. Is it 75 to 25? By Nitesh Jain asks. I think Duda versus Mitrabha is, yeah, 75-25 seems accurate. I would actually give it like 70-30, maybe a little more to Mitrabha. And Alexi Sarana versus Vidit. I haven't seen Sarana play so much, but from what I have seen, I would say 55-45, 55 in Vidit's favor and 45 in Sarana's. What do you think, Sheena?
Pretty interesting. I'll try to be a bit optimistic. I think Vidit will win this match 2.5, 1.5, and
Straight
or
up.
3-1, but 2.5, 1.5. If I had to choose one, and Mitrabha Duda, I think Duda will probably win at 3-2. Now, why I'm giving such a forecast, despite being optimistic, is because I think it really helps having that practice playing in the elite events. And Duda is really, really well seasoned. He's young, he's in shape, and it's not at all going to be easy to easy for Mitrava in that sense. I think Duda has a lot more experience overall. It's also nice to see Peter's setup for playing and the lights that he's using. I'm taking notes for my commentary too, for my setup too.
Maybe we can have a look at what's happening on the board. So it's a Spanish opening, Roy Lopez, and D3 Spanish, as they call it, with the bishop on B7. Usually, I mean, there are three ways
Soumya,
to
by the way,
develop.
the games have started. The Indian games
Okay,
have started.
so let's go. Let's go to our main matches that we want to follow today. Vidit versus Sarana on the board. Vidit has opened with a knight off on the board. That's cool. I actually was checking his reporter
Mm-hmm.
before we got on the stream, and I realized he plays almost everything. Like,
Sarana.
no, with it. I mean, he
Oh,
has
yeah.
played so many varieties of Sicilian lately as well. He has played Naidov, he has played Khan, and he has played two knights, and he has played of course he played a lot of classical as a kid. And then even against D4, I saw him play Grunfeld, I saw him play Nimzo Indian, I saw him play the QGD. So he's playing a lot of openings and so well prepared in each of them. That's a 2700 player for you guys.
Absolutely. And Vidit has been, he hasn't done a lot of 1e4 in recent times, Soumya. But the thing about Sarana is, he's quite hardcore with his openings. He sticks to his stuff. Sarana plays 1d4 largely with white. He has his own repertoire. Not a lot of friendliness towards Catalan in his repertoire, which is also another reason why I'm going to go heavily in favor of Vidit today. Uh, and with black, I think his main opening is the knight off against 1e4. So in this case, Vidit knows exactly what to prepare against. He has played this setup, the English attack, with bishop e3 quite a bit in some of his classical games as well. He knows this setup, he understands it, and he just goes with knight a5, the first move after which Sarana starts thinking. Queen to c7. A key aspect in this opening is if white can get this pawn to d5 and the c6 square for his knight, that would be very comfortable for white. But black will not allow this easily, because if he starts with knight d5, then after knight into d5, he takes bishop takes, queen into a5 comes. And this piece hangs because the queen on d2 is protecting the a5 knight. So with it starts with a3, and the typical response against a3, black goes rook a b8, trying to open up the b file with b4 and get his attack going in the queen side. Knight d5 whipped out by Vidit. What's going on here, Soumya?
Bishop d5, queen d5. I mean, they're playing very fast, so they both are very well prepared. Queen a5, and Vidit has a little more time on the clock. But I mean, it's all prepared clearly. Like he's just going so fast. We don't have any time to wait and see what would be the options. EF4 on the board, maybe H4 or Bishop D3 here. Yeah, H4 played. Bishop D8. It's an opposite color middle game. But so in an opposite color middle game, usually the player with the attack has a superior side, because black has one less piece to defend his pawns, on the king side, because let's say white starts attacking black with bishop d3, queen e4, g6, h5. The g6 point cannot be defended by the minor piece that's left on the board, which is the dark squared bishop. So usually the player who's attacking the king has an upper hand in opposite color bishop middle games. Hopefully it's with it here, but black also has this b4 break on the queen side, so it remains to be seen who's faster.
Absolutely well summed up there. It remains to be seen who's faster on the board, but off the board as well. These players have been playing incredibly fast. With it, not a lot of greedy going on today. He's sacrificed 2 pawns already, and he's giving up his third pawn away. So it is almost as if an imposter is playing. Yeah.
No, but I mean, I agree with what you mentioned. I think with its is trying to play different styles, no? So um I mean, I also was going through his recent games, and I feel he's like taking his chances, especially in rapid and blitz, is even more apparent. I think in classical, he's still sticking to his older style, but in rapid and blitz, I see the change more apparent.
Yeah, in classical also, I think he started off the year by trying to play a bit differently, because he was having a lot of decisive games. He started off Tata Steel, I can say, with some wins, and then it was followed up with some losses. And then in the Grand Prix as well, 2 wins, 2 losses. There were a lot more decisive games than it used to be in 2019. And in Olympiad, it was a bit of a different ball game because it is a team event. So the level of responsibility was higher, and having this role of not losing a game was also quite helpful for the team in ensuring that the team was almost impossible to defeat. Only in Olympiad, I think he played in his older version. Otherwise, I think he's been trying to transition from the beginning of this year, and it has had some mixed results, but I feel confident that it will pay off in a matter of time.
Nice, that's nice to hear. There is a question in the chat: what could be White's plan here? So, well, while Black is thinking, maybe we can show some plans. One was the plan we actually went for earlier, like Bishop D3, H5, and provoke a weakness. But the other more obvious plan right now is Bishop C4, pinning the F pawn, and then take a G6 break. So you can either sacrifice the pawn on G6 and after Hg play H5 and create more weaknesses, or you can play Bishop C4, H5, G6, and go for this idea. So both of these ideas exist. Yeah, I'm sure he's going to follow it up with Bishop C4 here. How does Black defend is another question altogether.
Yeah, how does Black defend? I think that's a lot more challenging in this question, but it helps that he has 3 pawns extra, and in case a situation comes, he can try to bail out with some kind of a sacrifice. Immediate threat for Black is to play b3, so he has the option of going on the counter attack mode. He can play b3 in the very next move. Bishop c4, as you suggested, will handle that. It will take care of that aspect. So let's say, yeah, he's gone bishop c4, which I thought was pretty much the default move. And now Black has, I think, a very challenging decision to make. He can sacrifice this pawn by playing d5 to open some open lines for the bishop. He can just move his king away, king h8. These are some of the human moves that comes to my mind first up. Uh, but I'm pretty optimistic that the computer is not going to like any of my suggestions here at first.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the option of just giving d5 because d6 is anyway hanging, so you might as well just give this pawn up and open some lines for yourself. That is a move that came to my mind. King h8 also looks very natural, but somehow, the rook is still on h1 and uh, it just. eh, Yeah, but maybe king h8 needs to be played because otherwise you allow g6 in this position.
Yeah, I don't know. It all looks bad for Black either way. Um, it just looks so dangerous because the king is kind of cooped up, not a lot of space to run out, and within the attacking dynamics, he does go for king h8. So at least um, that's some nice feeling for me that Sarana played it. All the Stockfish doesn't like it. Immediately goes up to 1.3.
You know
And
the dilemma for white, I would say, in this position is whether to now take material. He can take material with rook d6. His rook comes in and he's also attacking a6. Or to continue his attack, like go rook d g1 g6 or rook
I
d7
think
h.
continue the attack.
But it's definitely a decision to take, and I think Vidit might spend some time here, right?
I think he should do it quickly. It's a bit like Arjun's game yesterday, similar situation. He outprepared his opponent. He got this raging initiative, and then he just kept piling on that pressure by not giving his opponent much time to think. And it was very clear that it was very uncomfortable for his opponent if he kept the attack on. And I think it's a similar situation here. He has to keep the attack going. Uh, so I would suggest even I don't know what Stockfish would say here, but practically I think Vidit has to try and stoke the initiative, the fire of the initiative.
I like queen f4. Actually, you gain back the material, and I feel you also support g5. So you're threatening h5 and g6 now.
That does look good now that I see the move. Black doesn't have any immediate ways of getting his pieces out, and also something like g6 here is not immediately opening files and mating Black because he can take and keep the files closed. And this kind of position is not what white desires because all the files are still closed, the G file, the H file, and there will be no access through this diagonal because white doesn't have a dark square bishop. And this is the last thing that white wants. So when white opens things up, it's better that he does it in such a way where he's prepared. H5 is not possible because of bishop into G5. Black sets up a defensive formation like this. So queen into F4 makes a lot of sense defending the G5 pawn and also picking up a pawn. Looks also like the VD kind of move. Meanwhile, chat, we were talking about how we prepared the stream when Arjun came in yesterday, and we might have Vidit coming in, and Vidit is even more. We have to welcome him in an even better way in on YouTube. So do get those likes going. Let's get it past 200. We have about 250 watching. Do get those likes going and subscribe to the channel if you haven't.
Also, we'll soon ask our question for a diamond membership giveaway. So get the likes going, guys. We are soon going to ask it. And I think yesterday there was an interesting chat. saying, "Oh, now we can get diamond memberships by all these Googleable questions." Is it so? I mean, no, guys, we are going to like keep it mixed. Some of the questions might be Googleable, but we are trying to keep it like predictions and all of these kinds of mysterious questions which do not have fixed answers. So let's get the guys go likes going. Uh,
Yeah,
do you want to have a look at
I do have a
Mitrabha?
question on from the top of my mind for the diamond membership.
You do? You
Yeah,
I was thinking we should wait for the likes. Like thoda to matlab
we can have our first diamond membership question on
50 likes.
huh? 150, you mean?
Ha, 150 likes.
Yeah, 150 likes. 150 likes, and we'll have our first diamond membership question for the
Ha.
day. And I have my question ready. I have
Yeah.
actually a few questions ready. It's so easy to ask questions about Vidit, knowing so much about him.
Do you want to have a look at Mitrabha's game in the meanwhile?
Yeah, sure. The Mitrabha's game hasn't been going great for Mitrabha though. It started off as this French defense, the Winawer, just like the Vichy Pavel game. But it seems like Duda was better prepared. After a couple of moves of thinking, he started going full on the king side. Mitrabha lashed out with g5, h5, but after g4, there is a lot of pressure on this point, and Mitrabha is in a world of trouble. He spent 5 minutes on this move and goes knight h4. Mitrava is not someone who spends so much time, which is already a sign that his position is in deep distress. So knight h4 played, knight into h4. I guess he's intending some h into g4 here,
Yeah.
but white does not need to take knight into h4, right?
Yeah, but now, like, what does white do to retain his advantage? Because
I
we
was
are
thinking you
pressing
can focus on the g5 pawn, e into f6.
simply e into f6. I think he was planning e5 stuff, some e5 here.
Yeah,
But
e
then
into f6 played on the
e5 is
board.
the point is
e5
after
could be,
e5 you have knight g5, is it?
yeah, knight g5.
And h4 knight is hanging. That is the problem after queen f6
Yep.
and h4. So black needs to have something in his kitty right now. Knight f3 is a move, but then bishop into f3 or even queen f3, both options exist. But bishop f3 and you cannot take hg because rook on h8 hangs.
Mhm.
But probably here we can play queen f6 after bishop f3, right? And
Right.
gh5 will be met with e5. And the bishop on c8 suddenly becomes the strongest piece black has, from a very passive position on c8, it's now suddenly developed and active. So instead of bishop f3, maybe queen f3 would have been a better choice. And we keep the f6 pawn defended. But even here, you take hg and queen g4, and now queen f6 is met by bishop g5, right? This is the difference.
Yeah.
So
Indeed, indeed. This is the difference. And he didn't go for this knight into f3 check. He, in fact, went for h into g4, queen into g4, and he went e5 here at this point. Duda just took on g5, knight into f3, bishop into f3, e4, bishop e2, bishop e6. This is the present position that we have. And once again, it's a very nice position for white because it's very clear. He can just push his h pawn all the way to h6, and these two bishops will be able to support it and get it going. It's a massive advantage for white. And unlike in the Vichy Pavel game, I think black doesn't have as much of counterplay. although the evaluation number is similar, it's +4, but the level of counterplay for why black is not as much because he hasn't sacrificed a piece. And in that game, Pavel had this a passer going, but here why black doesn't have any such thing.
Yeah, I think this position is really in Duda's favor right now, and that brings us to the chat. The chat is asking for your questions, Sri. So maybe it's time to ask the first question of the day for the diamond membership giveaway. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. So with it, I don't. Yeah. Which was the year in which Vidit won his first World Championship title? This is the first giveaway question I had
Oh
in mind.
God, I think I know the answer to this. For those of you here who have followed any of my streams on my channel, especially the main ones, you would know the answer. Yeah, just want to say that you
Wow.
have to Google it. We actually
Chad,
did
you better live up to Soumya's expectations
a
because it would be so embarrassing.
it was actually a really old stream, but a really nice stream. I'm not giving any more hints. Let's see.
An old stream, but a really nice stream. Yeah, it is an easy question, but I think it's okay. It's easy to.
It's a very
I mean,
easy
it's
question.
good to start with an easy question because people do ask a lot of questions in the comments.
It's a very easy question, but it's a relevant question, and we are only asking relevant questions here. है ना?
Yeah,
Sorry? Right.
yeah,
So rook b5 on the board. Oh my god, rook c5 coming in. So the knight on d8 for now prevents the checkmate because it can go back to c6. This is a difficult position for black. King d2 with the idea to transfer the rook on h1 to b1 and break open the queen side with a5 once the rooks get doubled on the b file. Oh my god, now just rook b1 coming in, followed by a5. Actually, now rook c5 also is a threat. Rook c5,
yeah. Rook
b5,
c5 is
and rook
also there.
d8 is checkmate. So, so many threats on the board. Um, looks very difficult. Meanwhile, chat going very well. Yeah, chat. A lot of them know the answer. Some of them are saying 2019. Okay, then.
Yeah, I know, right? His first
So,
World Championship title. And from what I can see, Mrityunjay Goenka is the first person with the right answer. This was in 2008. And
yeah. It was
yeah,
the under 14 World Championship.
yeah, it was an under 14
Under
World
under
Championship.
16, sorry, under 16 World Championship, right?
No, no, it was under 14.
Under 14, and then yeah, I remember
Yeah,
Singh won the under 16. On Adiban also won under 16, I think.
Adiban won under 16 in that very same year. Yeah,
Right.
Adiban won under 16 by defeating Setu in a very important game. And with it, also defeated a lot of people to get his under 14 World Championship title. That
Yeah,
was,
we actually covered his games from that World Championship on one of our streams. Like Vidit had joined, like it was actually Vidit's special stream on my channel, and we did a whole stream on his childhood games. It was so nice, like to go through those under 14, under 12 games, and have a look at how he thought at that time. It was super nice.
yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine.
Actually, how you play in your childhood, a lot of people think that's the way you originally play, like that's your actual mindset, and it shows how you look at chess. So
It
that's
shows
how
what?
your perspective of chess, like your
Are you
childhood
still there?
games.
Oops, I'm frozen, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
so what I was saying was that our childhood games are a perspective, are our natural perspective of looking at chess. So a lot of people feel that going through our childhood games shows how this is where our natural strengths lie, and this is where our natural weaknesses lie. If you ever want to like take a um overview of yourself as a player, then it's a good idea to actually go through your childhood games and have a relook at them.
Go back to the basics, yeah?
matlab, yeah, like naturally you're naturally inclined towards some things in chess, right? Like some people are naturally inclined towards dynamics, some are naturally inclined towards setting up traps, cheap tricks, or end game, and all of this shows more clearly in your childhood games.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. That's very interesting insight. Do you also think having uh, your chess style also flows into your general style? Do you think, people's personality has a link on the way they play chess?
100%. Even your habits, like everyday habits, if you want to become more like let's for example, if you want to manage your time better on the chessboard, you learn to manage your time better in real life, and it will reflect in your game as well. Like that's one of the many ways. And overthinking, someone who does a lot of overthinking in life tends to overthink over the board as well. Like they'll
Right.
keep finding ways why this move doesn't work, why that move doesn't work. And someone who's used to taking quicker decisions, they'll take quicker decisions on the board as well. So of course a lot of our personality just reflects over the board. And actually, if you want to change something in yourself as a player, it's a good idea to start with yourself as a human being, and then it comes on the board as well.
Interesting. Interesting. Have you had any such experiences where you have worked on something overall and that flowed into your chess as well?
It's funny, but we tend to remember our negative experiences more than the positive ones. So I can tell a lot of negative experiences, but I'm trying to recollect a positive one. Um, I would say like, uh, let's say becoming more organized in my everyday life sort of helped me to recollect openings better, because my head was less jumbled up, with the lines, as it is less jumbled up with the things in my, like, let's say I want to recollect where I've kept my charger. If I'm more organized in my life, I know exactly where it is, right? I know it's in this room, in this drawer. You open this shelf, it's in this drawer. The same way I was able to recollect my lines as well when I became more organized. So this was one thing that definitely showed. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying not to give negative experiences because there are so many of them as well. So whatever bad habits you have, they will also start showing over the board.
Yeah, right.
What
Meanwhile,
about
Nitesh in the chat saying that Soumya, do you still play? You can be a great coach, I feel. And Soumya absolutely still plays. She did play for the Indian team in the Olympiad. But I also agree with the second part of the sentence.
Yeah, actually, I've been told that quite often that I'll make a good coach. But I just feel like not right now, at least.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's almost like We have a result on the Mitrabha game. Do you want to have a look at it quickly before we come back here?
Sure, if we can bring it up. The final position. We'll wait for it to, yeah, there we have it. That is the final position, and with that, Duda takes 1-0 lead in his game, in his match against Mitrabha.
Right. So Mitrabha will be white in the next game. So he has a good chance. There's still 3 games to go, but Duda clearly dictating the terms in the first game of the match. What about this game, Shri? I think VD is better. Clearly, like the pawns on G6 and H5 are great. We are getting the pawn on A4 as well. I don't see the white king being under any danger except for this rook E1 ideas coming in at some point, but that's also under control for now. The bishop on C7 is extremely passive. Extremely passive. It would have been wonderful on C3, for example, or even E5, But on C7, it's doing nothing other than protecting the D7 pawn. So definitely
Yeah,
the
kind of stuck doing a job that it hates, the bishop on c7.
yeah. VD lost his advantage. No, I think he still has it. No, Janvi is saying VD seems to have
Uh,
advantage.
well, according to the evaluation bar, he seems to have, but practically, I think he has a nice position. But it's also worrying, Soumya, that he has only 20 seconds remaining, because this is a 2 second increment, and Vidit has gone down on time a few times in recent events, but he had a lot more increment in those events, a 10-second increment. This is quite dangerous. He was.
Rook D8?
Oh,
Rook
yeah,
D8?
there you go.
He
Rook
didn't play
d8 would
Rook
have
D8.
been deadly, but Sarana also has
Missed
a
it.
mutual blind spot. But this also wins some material in VD's game. The bishop
Oh,
coming on to e5, and Vidit is not happy. But
oh.
you can't go so low on time. I think that's quite dangerous. What happened in Vidit's game, and now he has to take rook d5. Play.
This was very surprising, the turnaround. I mean, we were just admiring his position.
Yeah, taking the d6 pawn was the fatal mistake, and now it's a very comfortable game for Sarana. He just starts rolling in his hedge pawn. He probably has to take b into c3, but yeah, he takes it first, and now he just starts rolling his passes on the king side. First take on g6, and now and then just start pushing his pawns.
Oh God, what happened here? Everything seemed to be under control, and suddenly rook b4.
Yeah, yeah,
This
that was.
this is painful to watch because he played a great game, but the time is such a huge piece on the board nowadays. 15 plus 2, as you mentioned, it's very different from 15 plus 10. And once you're
Yeah,
down to
and
6,
with its recent remake of his play, I think this has been one of the most worrying aspects, that he tends to go quite low on time, and when he gets low on time, he just doesn't have that kind of practice that someone like Nihal has had, for example, playing with 10 seconds, and as such, it's probably a good idea not to get into such a deep end. Let's just have a look at the critical point once again. It was going quite well until this point, bishop b6, and with this move, Sarana makes a bid for the freedom of his bishop, and queen into d6 was a big mistake. As Soumya pointed out, rook d8 was also a move here, which would have won material for white, but that would have kept the queens on. Also completely winning for black. But what Sarana played with queen into d6, rook into d6, rook e1 check, important move. and he went with the king to b2. Maybe king a2 was better, or maybe
King
it doesn't make much difference.
King A2 also bishop C7. No, that's the
Yeah,
problem.
same. The king is just caught in a mating net. The pawn
Yeah,
on b3 not allowing king to escape from out here, and he just got into a kind of tangled mess. So that was the story of Vidit's first game.
it's so easy to go wrong when you're low on time. You're just feeling so pressurized, right? I mean, it's so easy to make mistakes in that. Once you get into the below 20 seconds category, I think the aim should be to always keep the clock about 30 seconds. Then you are like slightly calmer because you see the milliseconds are literally pointed out after the clock comes below 20, right? It comes 19.8, 19.76, there's a
Yeah,
countdown.
a lot of lot of physiological things take over when you have about 30 seconds. And I think during these moments, it's all about practice. Once again, you can't will yourself or stay calm just by means of other things. I think it's absolutely important to have a lot of practice being in that situation and making those moves with something like less than a second per move or 1 second per move. It comes down to a lot of hours of practice, and without that I think it's impossible for anyone to maintain their composure during those moments. They just, we saw what happened in the Raja Hoi fun game with 10 seconds each, and this is one key area where the current generation have superior experience and practice over the previous generations, which is a rare thing to see in sports, because usually the people who have years of experience are the ones who have had more hours of practice in any sport. But the online speeches formats, they're a bit like the 2020 revolution in cricket, and a lot of skills are transferable from test cricket to 2020, but there are a whole new range of skill sets which is exclusive to 2020. And the speeches format is similar. The pre-moving, the ability to stay calm under pressure when you have less than 30 seconds, the ability to make moves without blundering, all these things, you won't need it in classical chess, but you absolutely need it in this esport format.
Yeah. And well, I also want to point out that there are three more games to go, and Sarana is a really strong player as well. So it's not like, I mean, definitely, even while we were discussing the match chances, I gave the chances as 55-45. So 55 with its favor. So I didn't expect Sarana to just come and lose all his games, right? Of course, he's going to play equally well and it's going to be anybody's day today. But we are definitely cheering for VD here. And he has three more games to go. So there's always hope for a great game with Black in the next game. So I wouldn't come to any kind of conclusions with just one game. And especially in this game, I think he was also superbly prepared and he showed a lot of courage by sacrificing three pawns in the middle game and playing for the initiative.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But three more games to go, and we have seen comebacks in the past. So let's hope for another comeback. And chat, again, we need your support more than ever at this point. Both the Indian players losing the first game of the match for the first time in Rapid Chess Champ, the Global Chess Championship, but they can come back, but not without your support. So let's keep the positive energy going, and let's keep hearing. One thing I've noticed is whenever things go wrong somewhere, people immediately look for something to blame. Like it's almost like a default reaction. But that blaming, it just sets off a cycle of more negative things. It just keeps that spiral going, and it's very important to stop that cycle. Be aware of it, just stop that cycle. And it's okay to try and look for things to improve, but also do it in a in a way that we keep the feel good factor going. And I, I think it's a very important thing when something undesirable happens. It makes all the difference.
Yes, definitely. And also in sport, first of all, we have to remember that there is an opponent who also knows how to play chess. It's not just us playing chess. So it's not possible to always win every single match. And of course, we fight. Of course, we try to win. Of course, we try to get the best result possible. But if our opponent wins the game, we give him credit and try again once more the next day. That's about it. And I feel we should respect that aspect about sport as well. We just forget this aspect, about the opponent being there.
Yeah,
So I feel even as a fan, like for example, I was watching the Asia Cup last week, and I was watching cricket after a really long time. Like about after 7 years. The last match I watched was the World Cup. And last week I was watching Asia Cup, and everyone. I mean, I was just watching cricket. I was just enjoying cricket. Even though I was supporting the Indian team when, let's say, we were playing Pakistan or we were playing Sri Lanka, and even though we lost those matches, I was able to like really appreciate the fact that the opponents played so well. That we have to give it to them, right? And whatever we are lacking, we'll improve on that in the next game. So it's normal to feel disappointed when the team or the player you're rooting for loses, but uh, it's not due to lack of effort from our side. That much you need to understand and appreciate, I feel. As at least as a fan, that was my perspective, and I really enjoyed the cricket, to be honest.
absolutely. Meanwhile, I have the update that the game between Mitrabha against Duda, the second game, will start in just about a couple of minutes. So let's brace for that. The next game, Mitrabha with the white pieces against Duda. He'll be looking to strike back, and let's see if Mitrava can do it. This was a picture of his first game. He lost with the black pieces, and it was pretty one sided. Duda was dominating right from the beginning. He was clearly well prepared here. The French win hour variation. He was the first one to think, but Mitrava didn't get anything out of this game. He just got outclassed and outplayed, outskilled, whichever word you want to add to out. This was the game. This we had seen it at until around this point, and I think rook b5 b6. We saw all these moments going on. White being a pawn up and also breaking through on the other side, and it was pretty clean win. But the game two has begun, and Mitrava starts with one c4 with the white pieces.
Nice. And with Mitrabha, I also see him playing a lot of fixed openings, but he knows those positions really well. So
Yeah, yeah.
his
He
preparation is slightly different from the other youngsters, because other youngsters, I always see them changing up their repertoire, and that's the usual trend, right? Like you try to play everything. In Mitraba's case, he plays fixed structures, but he knows them really well, and he'll just confidently play his positions.
Yeah, and he definitely needs that confidence going into this match because he's trailing now, so he's kind of under pressure, and he has to try and strike back with the white pieces, um, and he goes with his trusted English opening, in which I think he won a game recently in the Indian Chess Tour against Harshit Raja in the first round. So he repeats that opening, but it looks like Duda is wide well prepared here and readily whips out bishop to g4. Duda is actually quite well prepared for this match, I must say, and that's not a good sign for Mitrava. I mean, it's stating the obvious, but it's not a good sign for Mitrava. How well prepared Duda is.
So, for example, in this position, the d4 square is something that white has willingly given up, by placing his pawns on c4 and e4. What does he have in return for that? Because the d5 square is not exactly ours. Black can always place the pawn on c6 and kick the knight away once we plonk a knight there. So, what do we have in return?
So white has a bit of space more than black. He has more space, firstly, and secondly, it's not so easy for black to get a piece out on d4. Like if he does it immediately, then he has to recapture with a pawn eventually, um, and this is not a great pawn structure for black. So black can begin with playing bishop into f3, and then play the knight to d4. But this can lead into situations where it's very easy for white to get play on this side with the pawn on f4 and the break. So what white has done is he has kind of kept the center closed. So you can have your pretty knight on d4, but how do you get more pieces to support that is white's question. And on the other hand, on the king side, white has more space. On the queen side, black doesn't have a lot of play. So this is the rationale of white's opening setup here. And we see this exactly happening. Knight d4 happened on the board, knight a4, taking out the dark square bishop, after which this knight on d4 will not be supported by a piece. It might, black might need to recapture with a pawn. And then white can try and start pushing on the king side.
E6 on the board, and I would definitely consider a move like g3 here with bishop g2 and f4 being the idea. Of course, not with the king on g1. I want to go king h1 as well before I push f4, but that's the general idea I would go for. It's just that I guess black might even take on f3 once I play g3 and not allow me to live with two pair of bishops in this game, right?
Yes, and with bishop into e3, I think there are situations where white would like to take f into e3, but this doesn't go well with the pawn on g3. So for this reason, Mitrabha decides to take the bishop on b6 first. A takes b6, and now I think he actually has a nice position out of the opening. No, takes bishop into d4. He has this bishop against this knight. The pawn structure of black is, I think, so. And white has a pretty nice play on whichever side he wants to play on.
Now the position has actually cleared out, and we can see white retaining some of his advantages. Yeah, now he can go for this f4 plan. Now maybe he can go, let's say, bishop. Where would you put your bishop? Would you put your bishop on somewhere like bishop g4 knight e5? Yeah, that's what he goes for. Bishop g4 knight
Yeah.
e5 bishop h3. It looks like a nice idea in this position because you're preventing f5 break.
Yeah, that's actually very well pointed out, Soumya, which is why, any person with initiative would gladly pass on to you. It's a very useful thing to prevent black from playing f5 because it gives white a lot of room to advance his pawns and access space on this side. And I think out of the opening, we can conclude that white has a good position, yeah, in this game. Bishop G. He actually goes bishop to d1. I think he wants bishop to b3, but he has invited the knight to e5 so he can get f4 with a tempo. But a nice position out of the opening, and Mitrabha playing quickly and confidently. Would you? Is that a fair way of summing it up?
Yeah, I like Mitrabha's chances here. I mean, it's an equal position, but he has got his structure. He has got probably what he was aiming for, and he's comfortable. So we can leave
Right.
this game here. If VD's game has started, we can
The
actually.
VD's game has started. The first few moves are out, and it's a queen's gambit accepted.
Kapil Chaudhary had a great observation about Duda, saying when Duda leans back in that chair, sometimes he looks like a supervillain. He does look like one of those Marvel heroes or villains, any either way. But with his the chair looks like an extension of his body, like Doctor Strange है ना उनके जैसा है ना and with his
Yeah,
expression he'll be
I
like
don't know. I
this.
don't know. I don't know who's Doctor Strange though.
You don't know Doctor Strange? अरे क्या? You should go and watch. Yeah, you should go. Haven't you watched Avengers?
I have watched Avengers, but I don't know who's Doctor
So the one
Strange.
who can travel through timelines and Benedict Cumberbatch plays him.
Right,
अच्छा
right.
ठीक है we'll first discuss this position and then we'll discuss Avengers as well. Srinath, we need to.
Yeah, Duda. Now that I see the chair, I can see what you're talking about.
है ना?
Meanwhile, a very strange thing by Sarana, no? Like 3 minutes in a very popular position.
Yeah, so this is a QGA, and actually, I mean, White has so many ways to play the QGA, so probably he was just choosing which one to go for, I would say, rather than recollecting anything.
Right, and he chooses to go to Queen E2. I think what he was probably perplexed, Soumya, is that in this position, A6
Mhm.
is clearly the more solid option. Knight C6 is definitely the less solid option. So, with it choosing Knight C6 must have come as a bit of a surprise, and that is why he took such a long think. But he goes Queen E2, Rook D1, DC, Queen C7, Bishop D3. Bishop at c5 taken once again with it dictating the opening part of this game. Uh, we have gone into the main line of the Queen's Gambit. Not exactly a main line, but a typical early middle game of the QGA. Here, White gets his bishop to b2, and the drawback of having this pawn to b5 early on is that it can be harassed with a4, but this system with knight c6 itself is, I think, it's a bit different from the systems where knight c6 has not been committed. That the black knight goes to b7, sorry d7. The bishop comes to b7, has a full diagonal. Here, the knight has been developed to c6, but after it goes to e5 and gets traded, I think anyway it won't make much of a difference. So bishop to b7, knight to e5, and I think Vidit has managed to equalize this comfortably.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Even though this is a very typical QGA position, so I mean, many times these kind of positions do arise out of QGA where it looks as if both the sides have developed their pieces exactly on the same squares, but there are some minor differences, like even like the queen being on c7 instead of e7 here is a difference. So in symmetrical positions, all of these things do matter. For example, here bishop f6 could be an idea. That's why knight e5 played on the board, stopping any kind of bishop f6 ideas and creating activity for ourselves. We want to go bishop b7 next and threaten knight f3 ourselves. Actually, knight f3 immediately is also a threat here because bishop into h2 is hanging. Um, yeah, so symmetrical positions. One thing I learned about symmetrical positions is that the one who develops their bishops first and makes them active first has an advantage. So you could say it appears as if Sarana has developed his bishops first, but black is just one move away from developing his bishop to b7. So um, actually, Sarana is the one who has to solve some problems in this position, right?
Yeah, you might say so. So because White is behind in development. Although it shouldn't be so difficult to solve the problems and make a draw if White wants to. At the very least, he can just trade everything like this, develop the knight to d2, and the position will stay equal. So if White wants to accept equality, he can just go for it and make a draw anytime he wants. If White wants to try and press for an advantage to keep that tiny edge going on, Now that is, I think, a lot more challenging, and I don't see a direct way for White to be able to do that. The question really has nothing for White. It's a very successful opening for Vidit with the black pieces, and he has, I think, done a good job in equalizing with black. But from Sarana's perspective, draw is not such a disaster considering that he has won the first game with the black pieces, and he will. Yeah, I think he won't mind the black draw with the white pieces. That will still keep the pressure on with it.
Yeah, I agree. I very perfectly explained there, and he's probably just deciding whether to go for equality or try more. That is what he's thinking about.
Yeah.
Satyachess says GM Srinath trying to control some opening prep since he knows the lines is so cute.
A lot of optimism from his side, huh? Because although I have a lot of these opening lines, I don't remember any of them. So without my computer, I'm useless. If someone wipes out the data from my computer, that's pretty damaging to my
Yeah, you
memory
know
as
what?
well.
Yeah, that leads me to a question.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it can be the second question for diamond membership giveaway. If a chess player's house is on fire, what do you think is the material thing that they will save first?
Is this a diamond membership question?
Yeah, it's a diamond membership question because I think there can be only one right answer to this. And I'm only talking about material things, chat, not people.
It's certainly not that anniversary gift they received, right?
Anniversary gift.
Yeah, like a framed photo or
You're so
something.
optimistic. You think all chess players are have a partner. I mean, you're just so optimistic, you know.
Brutal. Just so brutal.
Hardly go out of their house and you're hoping that they'll have a social life. All their
Wow.
social life is online.
I'm not sure if that is the bigger burn or that their house is being on fire. Yeah, that
Like,
I think gives a pretty big clue. Now I think black has reasons to be optimistic because I was looking at this variation. I didn't like knight f3. It allows the black to get some control over things. I'm not sure, but even something like bishop into f3 is worth considering because this knight will like these places on c3. In this particular instance, I'm not really convinced if the bishop is as good as the knight. A lot of questions out there on the chat. A lot of answers out there on the chat, Samya. Feel free to evaluate and gift the diamond membership.
no, most of them.
Parth is saying spouse if he wants to stay alive, but
But
again,
I
that's that
specified.
optimistic.
Also, I specified that it's a material thing. So obviously,
Yeah,
save your loved ones first. Obviously, but
unless they're mentioning some kind of an imaginary spouse.
just for Vidit. Oh, this is funny. For Vidit, it says Black Lotus sign. um,
But
somebody
Vidit does have a killer look and expression on his eyes right now, no? And I don't know if it is a conscious thing, but in his new Vidit 2.0 avatar, we can only see his eyes. I don't know if it's a conscious thing to make the Black Lotus more prominent behind, or he just wants people to get that full terror of his eyes unleashed, so his opponents can just look at it and melt away in intimidation.
Do you think they look at each other during the game? I know I would
I,
if I was
I
playing it
used
online.
to I used to minimize the zoom so that I can see my opponent's face.
Yeah.
And I remember I was playing against MVL in one of these online games, and he blended something, and I could immediately get it from his expression. So it has been useful for me looking at the opponent's expression, getting that immediate giveaway. And in general, also I get a lot of my information from the expressions and body language, considering that I observe a lot. When you're the coach, the captain, you are constantly looking at the players, and you pick a lot of these subtle signs. So I can get a lot of information before I look at the board in physical, when I'm looking at it physically.
Yeah, I agree actually. Body language gives away a lot of clues. I also tend to look at the camera. But yeah, I'm sure they also must be looking at some signs. Uh, Definitely, a lot of the chat got it right. I did have the laptop in mind, and the hard disk also comes uh, as an answer, but laptop is like the most obvious one. So, congrats, guys. Think I think
Yeah.
Samranjan was the first one to say laptop.
Yep.
So, congratulations, Samranjan. You've got a diamond membership for yourself by this fantastic answer.
Well done, Sam Ranjan, and a well-deserved diamond membership there. Now, talking about this saving the data part, I remember there was this New Inches interview when Levon was asked this question, and he replied by saying that he would get his hard disk. But in today's times, you have one backup, one local backup, and you also have one saved on cloud. So you just hope that the information doesn't get destroyed off the internet or stolen. It can be stolen from two places.
Yeah, that's true.
But okay, it wouldn't be such a disaster for me if it gets stolen or something. Not like I have some state secrets or something, it's just chess. But it would be a much bigger disaster if I lose access to that data, because that will lose a lot of hours of hard work. That's much worse. So the risk reward ratio is, I think, very much in favor of having the data uh,
Backed up.
backed up.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Rook D1 on the board, and I think we can expect Rook D8. You don't want to give up open files so easily to your opponent. You could also, by the way, double on the C file. Play Rook C7, Rook C8, but Rook D8 looks more natural.
He goes for rook c3. He threatens rook into d3, but yeah, c3 square is the landing point for black, the dark square. And I think Vidit will be quite optimistic about his position. He has more time. And this match is well and truly alive, chat. Two reasons. One, although Vidit lost the first game, he just seems to be in better shape, better prepared. And this is a coach's insight. And secondly, we have seen a lot of matches where, white, the player has white on the fourth game with a draw required and imploded completely. So a lot going on, a lot of pressure on both the players. We'll see a lot of mistakes. People are not going to play perfectly. And with these mistakes, the player in better shape will usually be able to handle things better under pressure. So, a lot of reasons to stay optimistic, not just because Vidit is a good friend, but just reading the game.
Very, very well put there, Shri. And in fact, now we are also getting all our pieces into White's camp. I think it's time for a knight to come into action. We can put a knight to d5, block the rook's path, and also block the queen's diagonal. prevent the queen from entering into black's position at b7. And knight on d5 also keeps an eye on e3, so we can in the future attack on e3. But he plays rook b3. He's allowed white to play a move like queen b7 here because it runs into knight g4, I guess. I think that's the point.
Yeah, this can get very dangerous for black very quickly.
Right.
He has too many soft spots here. So there is attack on two sides, and the queen on e5 is like it's in the center. It's like this amazing piece which can swing to this side or this side as and when necessary. And white is under some serious pressure here. Not at all impressed with Sarana's play in this game, Soumya. And I also noticed in the last title Tuesday, he played with white. He didn't look. He's usually very well set with his white preparation. He has little ideas everywhere, but in recent times he looked a bit insipid, out of inspiration. Meanwhile, Vidit finished second in the previous title Tuesday. He played really well, defeating Jeffrey Chong in the last round. And after an early loss towards the end, he just started winning all the games. So if Vidit can, I think, ensure that he doesn't get into that type of time trouble that he got in the first game, I think he has very good chances. He would be a clear favorite. That is the one danger point that he should be a bit wary of, I think.
Aditya asked, what's rook b3? I was also curious of this. I mean, I didn't understand this move very well, but I think it does two things. One is it prevents any kind of a4 stuff because the b4 pawn will always be attacked. So that's one point, and the other is it just maintains the position. I mean, you can go in queen b2 at some point if you get a chance, maybe not on the next move, because for example here queen b2, white can simply play queen e2, but later it could be an idea and you attack the a3 pawn as well. So yeah, knight d5 in, and you also create a square on c3 for your knight if required. So I think it was just a multi-purpose move. I don't think knight d5 was an inferior move, but rook b3 was also good, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In war terminology, it's like, the rook has entered the enemy territory and it is going deep inside. And this C3 point is like the landing strip. Like imagine it's a beach and the forces are coming in to the enemy territory. So this is the landing point. And this rook has already gone in and it has gone deep into the enemy territory. Once it gets the help of more forces, black will be able to capture strategic spots in the enemy territory. So rook c8, rook c3, or queen c3, queen b2, all these things. The c3 square is the entry point. It's that one undefended spot in white's camp. Meanwhile, chat, let's get those likes going. The next diamond membership giveaway will be at 350 likes. So let's get those likes going so we can give away more diamond memberships.
What would you do with a diamond membership, Srinath, if it was your first time using chess.com as a diamond member?
Okay, so this is, I think I would use it for a lot of puzzles, lessons, and it also really helps that there's no limit on playing games, because I've gone on marathons. I've had these 100-game matches, the blitz games and stuff. And imagine if I had to stop it at 20. Maybe that would have been better for my tilt, but nevertheless, it wouldn't have been pleasant having to abruptly stop in between. So, three things: playing lots of games, puzzles, and the lessons, the learning. For for those who are just starting to play chess, for those who are starting to learn, I think the learning option is a very, very useful tool. Kind of automates things and replaces the need of a personal coach at that point. It's very easy to learn the basics and get into the game. Meanwhile, Soumya, I think there's a big danger of a4 coming in. I don't see how black prevents that. You have the rook on b3, but black can take the b4 pawn, but white will take the b5 pawn. This is what Alexei is counting on. And if he can achieve this, then he will achieve a draw in this game.
This was a very good decision by Sarana to exchange queens because Black's queen was so well placed on e5, centralized, ready to go on either side, while White's queen was doing almost nothing but defending the e3 square. So to go with this queen g4 and queen d4 idea was a really good one. Black plays rook c8 with the idea to go in with rook c3, and I think his point is after a4 he wants to take ba, rook a4, and play rook c1. So he's also prevented a4.
Right. Show that, which is pretty instructive and a way to create more problems, more headache for the defending side. Meanwhile, a quick update in the Mitrabha Duda game. This is the present position, and Mitrabha is just about to resign. He's completely been outclassed in this match, low on time, a completely losing position. It's checkmate on the next move. And with this win, Duda will go 2-0 up in this match. And I think that's likely to be an unassailable lead.
Definitely a big learning experience for Mitrabha here, playing against a player like Jan Christoph Duda in a match. Huge learning experience for him. But yeah, in this match, Duda has been stronger than Mitrabha. Um,
Yeah,
very, very
and now we have
clear
it.
term. Yeah, and he wins this match. He goes ahead by 2-0. There is a question in the chat by Tanmay. Besides Vaishali, who do you think is the best pick for winning Women's Grand Prix starting today in Noor Sultan? I think everybody is playing there. I would uh, I would say Lano. I would I would go with Lano other than Vaishali, of course.
I don't want to choose anyone other than Vaishali because I've been very impressed with Vaishali's play recently. She has grown so quickly through the ranks. She has improved very consistently. She's right there at what's
Oh, knight
happening with
c4?
knight c2.
Knight c4?
Oh, rook c4. This is the point. This is, I think, potentially what
Oh, this was missed,
might
yeah?
have tricked. Yeah, potentially. This is a very important
Oh,
defensive move. On 1 second, it looked like every white piece was hanging. Three of white's pieces hanging. But what's happened? Oh, rook c4. And the point is, if rook takes c4, does rook a8 check? So such an important move. Otherwise, if you take bishop into c4, black still had knight into a1, bishop into b3, and this knight has access to the b3 square. But rook c4, rook into c4, rook a8 check, a very important move. And with this, I think Sarana manages to get out of the pressure.
very nice tactic here by White, actually. Getting this a4 in and exchanging all the queenside pawns. By the way, in a bishop versus knight endgame with pawns on the same side, the knight still has a slight advantage over the bishop usually because the knight can attack the pawns on either square while the bishop can attack the pawns only on one square and also defend the pawns only on one square. So that's the reason the knight is usually preferred. So even here, even though it's an equal position, I would prefer black.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, very nice pawn formation here by Alexei. Very instructive. When you have a light square bishop, have your pawns on the dark squares. I think I probably have mentioned this more than 100 times, the bishops and the pawns, but it never gets hold because it's such an important strategic concept and something that's hardwired in grandmaster's play. And it's a very useful thing to learn. Meanwhile, yeah, the chat going all about puzzles. I do remember, I don't know a medical aspirant who keeps bragging about her puzzles rating. And the diamond membership is, I think, a very useful, it's a very useful tool to keep practicing more and keep getting better at chess.
Satya Chess, meanwhile, has very high expectations. He's asking, what about Harika? Give her a break. She just gave birth to a baby girl like a few days ago, and they want her to play once again. She's not playing in this edition. She'll play in the February edition probably. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Vidit was threatening knight to g4, so white plays king to f1, so he can meet knight g4 with bishop e2,
huh.
and with this um, he keeps his defense secure. Still some minor pressure there, yeah.
हाँ थोड़ा तो है ना मतलब I can play e5 e4 if I get a chance even though it will weaken the f7 square but I will try to control as many squares as possible and exert pressure. I don't think they're going to take a draw so easily over here. They're going to keep playing.
Yeah, Vidit will try to create some pressure. Although it did feel like it it felt like more, but white just had this concrete defense with a4. It's very unfortunate, but also when we saw the evaluation bar, white always had it at 0. He always had it under control. Veeny very wish, she says, I knew knight is better. Do I get a diamond membership? You have to I think be a bit work a bit harder for the diamond membership.
But it's
And
good that he knew it. Huh? I mean, I'm impressed that they already knew this information.
after watching streams for such a long time, I'm not really surprised. I expect my chat to know at least this much, I have such expectations from my chat in terms
Yeah,
of
you
their
have very high
chess.
expectations, Srinath. Like nobody can watch a stream for the first time. They need to be a regular, otherwise they'll be roasted.
No, actually, the regulars are the ones who gets roasted more. Utkarsh is asking, did you used to prepare for NEET? Just curious. I don't even understand how people have such high expectations of me. Maybe
What,
they're just
Radha?
mirroring.
As a human being, you're expected to do everything possible in one lifetime itself, you know. You're making
NEET, JE. Only Sagar Shah can be so incredible, being so good at multiple fields. Amin Basam is also another person. He has done it. Yeah, he has. I mean, he's not a doctor from India, but he's a doctor, and he's a 2700. So there
Raghavi
have
is a
been people.
surgeon. Raghavi is a ENT specialist and she's a doctor and she's a WIM. She was about 20 to 80. I think that was her highest rating.
Yeah. Raghav is also incredible.
She's, she's also a chess coach. She has a chess academy. I don't know what all she keeps doing. I mean, she has a lot of things to do in a day. She is a doctor, so she works in a hospital. She's taking a medical course right now. Like she's a student as well. She's learning a new course. Then she has a chess academy, and she is a WM in chess. And
Yeah,
not to mention that she also has a baby girl of 2 years. So yeah,
yeah. Absolutely,
that's a
absolutely.
lot. Rook c8 on the board. Can we play? How do we put any more pressure on white than already we have accomplished? Maybe we try to take g5 break, but then h5 will be weak. I mean,
Yeah, in these types of situations, ideally you try to look at what the opponent wants to do and try and prevent it. And for now, with it stops white from coming to the sixth rank, which would be a very nice way of getting counterplay. But white also secures the second rank in return. Now, f4 is a potential way to try and create something, Soumya, trying to weaken the h4 pawn. But that is that can go either way because I mean, black is not really in any danger of losing, but also this f5 square can be controlled by the bishop on d3, so that's not going to give a lot for black. He goes for it. I was expecting takes and bishop d3 here, He goes rook a2. He just stays. Knight f5 can be met with bishop d3, and f into g, rook b3 can just be met with rook a6. In fact, rook a2, the idea is rook a6, and I think here black has kind of exhausted his options. I don't see a lot going on here. But online, with 2 seconds increment, you just try and keep playing anyhow. A lot can go wrong in online chess. The internet connection, the mouse slips. There are a lot. There are a few of these additional factors in play. So as long as you keep creating that pressure and exerting it, you try to play on for a bit longer, even in those positions where your opponent is even in those questions where in over the board chess people would be happy to sign the score sheets already.
Yeah, but this looks super drawish now with king f6, and now, I mean, king e5, rook e2. You won't allow the king far ahead. King will probably go back now. Acha, king d6, he's gone. So he wants to. Acha, king e7 and now king f6. Yeah, I think
finally he's back to f6. Yeah. Yeah. This is kind of like how he reaches Nashik back from any place he goes. Like king goes here, it goes here, it goes here. It's such a long and extended route, while normal people go like in one move. Rook a2, knight d4, bishop to e4, and yeah, it's pretty even. White can start creating threats now with rook a6. So I think it's good time to liquidate and bail out.
How do you bail out here? Knight f5, is it?
Yeah, knight f5.
Knight f5.
Rook
Rook
c5.
g3 and
Yeah,
bishop
king
f5. Oh, can't. It's never too late to blunder. So you don't want to do that.
Yep. The minor pieces have been traded, and now I think just repeat.
Yeah, there is a question in the chat about Parimarjan Negi, who's a grandmaster. Yeah, we have it. There we have it, the draw on the board. So Sarana still leads the match going into round 3 with 1.5 versus half. Vidit needs to win this game to equalize the match. Before we go to a short break, let me just answer the chat's question that, yeah, Parimarjan, who's a 2600 grandmaster and he was a huge prodigy. He actually is a PhD scholar at MIT right now. He did his post-graduation from Stanford, if I'm right, and then he's
so
now.
Parimarjan can be Dr. Parimarjan, yeah? I mean, Dr. Negi.
He will be, yeah, once he completes his thesis, yeah. Right. He's doing research on computer science, I think. I mean, I don't know the topic of research, but that's the field he's looking at. Okay, so guys, maybe we will ask you a diamond membership question once we are back. So do get the likes coming in and please stay with us. We are going on a short break right now. I have to go for a prior commitment, but instead of me, we will be joined by the wonderful Padmini Raut, and of course, Srinath will be here. So please stay with us. We will be right back.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Chess.com Global Championship, focusing on the Indian players. And we will get back right into the action. But I'm joined by international master Padmini Raut, who is here on Chess.com India for the first time as a commentator. So let's give Padmini a great welcome chat. Let's make her feel comfortable at home. And uh, among her chess achievements, she's also the latest entrant into the YouTube streaming community. So do give her a warm welcome. Do go to her channel as well and subscribe to it. And the link will be in the chat. So do show her a warm welcome. And
Yeah. Hi, Chad. Hi, Srinath. And I'm really excited and happy to be on chess.com for the first time. And it'll be my first commentary. I hope all of you enjoy. And yeah, I hope it'll be a great time.
absolutely, I'm pretty sure they all will. Meanwhile, the third game between Jan Christoph Duda against Mitrabha Guha has behind. And again, good signs for Mitrabha. He had a good opening in the previous game. He got outplayed pretty quickly by Duda. And but this game has gone much better for Mitrabha. And he has a very nice position out of the opening.
Yeah. Yeah. I also like black because black c3 pawn looks like a monster now. And it is sort of this bishop, knight, and that pawn are restricting the queen side pieces. And I think it will be a problem how to develop white's pieces into more active positions.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the first time in for probably the second time in the match, Mitrabha seems quite comfortable out of the opening. But it's been a tough start for him. He kind of lost two matches even before he could get into the match. And he's in a situation where he has to win on demand with the black pieces and also win with the white pieces on the next game in order to make it equal 2-2. So this is the challenge that's facing Mitrabha.
Yeah. How hard do you think it is to play when we are two games down? We have seen players make comebacks in such situations also. It definitely must not be easy. How do you think the player's mindset must be? Mitrabhas, if we know him, like I know he doesn't give away so much emotions. I've never seen him, being like showing emotions during tournaments or anything. What do you think about it?
It's incredibly hard, but also in a way it frees you up because you have nothing to lose anymore. You just have to, just go and play whatever comes. It only gets better from there when you are 2-0 down. So you just start playing, and if you happen to win one game, then you just take the momentum forward, and it's your opponent who will be under pressure to justify his lead, to make sure that he keeps it. So it's very tough to get back from a situation like this, but it's also a situation where it can only improve. It's not going to get worse. A good question for Mitrabha out of the opening. Meanwhile, we have the start of the Vidit Alexei Sarana third game, in which Vidit goes for the Jobawa London. Again, I would have never expected Vidit to come up with an opening like this with the white pieces. Padmini, you are probably born in the same year as Vidit, and you have observed him for so many years. So, are you surprised by his recent openings, his repertoire, and the changes?
Yeah, I feel Vidit has changed quite a lot over this past few years, and he has changed his playing style. He plays a lot more active openings and has many all these different choices. Because I know Vidit, we won our first tournament together, the National Under 11, and ever since Asian, we won Asian together also, and I've seen him, and he was very. He had this a set of like the way he used to react to losses, and maybe it's a black lotus, I don't know, but all these things probably, and he has completely changed himself, and he's choosing a lot of active lines, which is very good to know. I love watching his games. Like personally, I feel I don't do well against players like Vidit. So it is also very good to see how they're adapting to new styles. And I think
Right.
when our personality is changing, it's also reflecting on the board. So
Do you think Vidit's personality is changing in recent times?
I feel he is doing different things. So maybe that's why, like, he's trying different things in life. So over the board also it is showing, or maybe he's doing different things on the board. So that's why he's also changing things in his life. And I think it's a great thing.
Interesting. Meanwhile, Vidit has taken the pawn on c5, and black should be able to get it back pretty much instantly. Something like e6 and bishop into c5 should do the job. What else can black play here?
So I think, yeah, e6 bishop c5 is a good idea. Vidit went for queen a5.
Yeah, he went for queen a5, pinning the knight, and he gets queen into c5 over the next move in any case. And what do you think of the outcome of the opening? It's just 5 moves so far, but with it already in a bit of thought, not what you'd normally see. He's usually well prepared up to 20, 15, 20 moves. But here, after 5 minutes, it's a fresh position for both of them. What do you think about the outcome of that?
I think playing this line, Vidit wants Alexis Sarana to come out of whatever preparation he might be having. I don't think Vidit plays this opening very often. And even like, for example, moves like queen a5, or no, like very normal would be to play e6 bishop c5, right? And because once we play queen a5 queen c5, we will anyway have to move the bishop somewhere, e7. So I don't know how these small details make a difference, but I think it's a very good choice. And Vidit will like play knight f3. And how is black going to develop? Maybe knight c6. Uh, I think
Yeah,
white will anyway go for short castle, right? Because long castle gives away a lot of play on the queen side. Like black is faster to react on the queen side than on the king side.
yeah, true. Although this position, knight c6 here could potentially cause some problems for black. Yeah, if this knight gets onto b3
b4, b3,
and the
yeah.
queen is supporting d5. I think black has to be a bit careful after knight f3 and precise. Uh, Once again, it's possible to take queen into c5 directly, which is I think his intention because of knight f3 played on the board after quite a long thing, by the way, a bit more than 2 minutes. And here I expect black to take queen into c5, but let's see.
Yeah, I think both the sides have to think where to put their pieces and act accordingly.
True. How do you do that if you're black here?
I think I would have just developed with bishop c5. So queen a5, like I think he just wants to maybe take knight d7, knight c5, or because if black wanted just to play simple, he could go e6 and bishop c5, right?
Right. But he went for queen e5, and for knight f3 he replied with the bishop coming to g4, which again is a bit strange, and the computer likes it for white instantly.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think black's way of developing is not the most natural.
yeah. But how does white get advantage here? How does white?
What if we start with, like, let's say h3 and question where the bishop wants to go?
h3, probably bishop into f3, right? Also, you have to watch out
Queen
for this knight
f3.
e4.
Yeah, knight e4, bishop e5, knight c6 comes with a tempo, which is not good for us.
Yeah, this can get bad for white pretty
So
quickly.
maybe bishop g4, we have to start with a3. You know, yeah, again putting some questions. So bishop f3, we will take. We have the option of taking gf3 also.
Right, but Vidit has started with bishop e2, and
Mhm.
he just casual shot, like you mentioned earlier. Bishop e2, casual shot, and black also takes with bishop into c5. What black has done is, instead of playing e6 here and keeping the bishop on c8, he managed to get his bishop out onto g4. And after short castle bishop into c5, that's one thing black has been successful with. But on the other hand, I'm not really sure if the time that this cost will be useful for white in some way. Do you see any quick way that white can create some pressure here?
Yeah, so just
Padmini?
in one move, black is going to castle. I'm trying to see if we can gain some, tempos to take advantage of a slight advantage in development. Like if we play a3, he has to do something about the b4 idea. So he will play maybe queen b6, knight a4 we have, and if we get two bishops, it's again good for us.
Right.
And what will
He's in
black
fact
do
gone
here?
for e4, which I think makes a lot of sense. And I was also thinking
Yeah.
about e4.
Yeah, so when
Uh,
you are ahead in development, you immediately start in the center. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So with it goes for e4, what's happening here? Let's say I just take the pawn,
Yeah.
knight
Um,
g5,
Knight g5.
I guess.
Yeah.
No, knight g5 is a terrible move apparently.
Why is it?
It's not
Some.
immediately clear what's happening after d into e4.
So why is knight g5 such a bad move?
Because the bar went down to -2, but
Yeah,
also I
but it's
guess
not
bishop
very
f5.
apparent, not clear to see. Yeah, maybe bishop e2, queen e2, queen f5.
No, just bishop f5,
Just
and
bishop
it's not so
f5.
easy to take this pawn. Yeah,
Hmm.
but Sarana sees what Vidit has also seen, so he just goes for short castle without inviting d into e4. I guess the point is after d into e4, there's a lot of
Knight.
pressure with something like knight e5 or knight d2, and white gets his pieces in the center, and he will take on e4 with tempo. So I think this was a point, and Sarana just sidesteps it by playing short castle. What this will do though is it gives the weakness on d5 for black after
Hmm.
ed5, ed5.
Isolated pawn. Vidit is playing very principled. First, he developed his pieces and castle, and then he, attacked immediately in the center. And now he switched into getting a isolated pawn advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. So far, he's been playing in a principled and precise way,
Hmm.
and he's a bit low on time, but once again quality comes at a cost. You do need to take time to play good moves, and he'll be happy with the outcome of the time spent there.
Yeah.
So e takes d5, probably expected from Vidit. E takes d5, and how does white continue here? Also, it's not clear if black has to take with the pawn. He can also take with the knight, which leads to basically the same pawn structure. But I
But with
think
less
white will
pieces.
be happy to. Sorry?
Yeah. Yeah, with less pieces. So white will be happy to, exchange that knight also. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
So
so
e takes d5, e takes d5, and what do
yeah,
you think?
maybe
He's gone for e5 though.
put on h3. Yeah, e5 is keeping more space. I don't know because our e2 bishop has good chances of getting exchanged. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and the computer absolutely hates this move, e5. Instantly, the bar going towards black's favor. Knight g5, and what do you think, Padmini? Does black trade the light square bishop or retain it?
I think black should exchange it, because more pieces get exchanged, he will have less to worry about any attack. And
Right. And Alexei almost on cue. He takes bishop into e2 immediately, and I'm not sure how Vidit will
so
recapture
I feel
knight.
queen e2, and because
Mhm.
we
Yeah,
have some queen d3 ideas, so h6 I think black has to play.
right.
Yeah, and we go back. Or maybe, do you think knight e2, so that knight d4, putting a knight on d4 was an option? So maybe knight into e2 was a better uh, way to.
It's hard to say, but the thing is, I think either way, it's not so difficult for black to parry white's initiative here. With his moves e5 and knight g5, he signaled a very aggressive approach. He clearly made this committal decision. He had the alternative. He has taken knight into e2, by the way, but he has signaled a very aggressive approach. And the problem is the attack doesn't flow for white. Bishop
Yeah.
e7, this knight on g5 has to immediately come back, and this pawn on e5 looks pretty soft.
Yeah, I think generally when we have this structure with the pawn on e5, white really enjoys and wants the light color bishop to be alive, so that he can make threats on this h7 square, f7 square.
Absolutely. I think that's a very important decision, vital decision, a vital point that you mentioned, the lack of light square bishop. This is like a French defense pawn structure, but
Yeah.
without the light square bishops. And this really improves it so much for black. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Vidit will still try to play c3, knight g3, knight h5, create some weakness and um,
Create something going on the king side. Meanwhile, we have an update in the Mitrabha Duda match where Duda has won the game 3 as well.
Oh, yes.
And that's not a good timing. But
Why? Mitrava won, right?
no. Duda has won 3-0.
Oh, that's very sad. But how did the game go? Because when we saw last, Mitrava was winning. I mean,
He
not
had a
really
nice cushion out
winning.
of the
Yeah.
opening, and we'll have a look at how the game went during one of the breaks in the Vidit Sarana match. But I think overall, Duda was just at a completely different level. He was dominant right from game one, and Mitrabha didn't really get a lot of chances throughout that match. So uh, credit to Duda, although unfortunate for Mitrabha, but I think this will be an excellent learning experience for him going forward. The first time that he has faced such a strong opponent.
Yeah, let's have a look at that game, how the game went, because Mitrava's had such a great portion. Yeah.
Yeah. True, but we'll get to that when
Okay.
we have that when we don't have a live action going.
Okay. Yeah. So Vidit is following the plan and trying to create weaknesses in Black's camp.
Yeah, H4 played. Um, despite the evaluation bar, I think White has some real practical chances to whip up something on the king side.
Yeah.
H5 coming in, knight g3, queen d3. Gabbar Singh in the chat, I have a lot of respect for Padmini ma'am.
Thank
We
you.
all do. With b4, with it stops the potential counterplay for black on this side. How would you which side would you prefer to take here, Padmini?
I think I would like white, because white, even though we don't see clearly yet how to attack, white is the one attacking, and black has to defend precisely to come out on the top. So I would take white. What about
Interesting.
you?
I wouldn't mind black because First of all, you have chosen white, so it makes sense for one of us to take black. But aside from that, it's a pretty even position, and I think black has pretty decent defensive possibilities. But the big question as black is whether f6 is something black wants to play or not, and he's gone for it. Which is a very important defensive resource, but the computer hates it. And immediately the bar goes to +1. A very natural human move, f6, and understandable. But what's happening? This weakens the e6 square.
Yeah.
Oh, bishop e3. Bishop e3 is a strong move by Vidit. It's a super strong move. I don't think Alexei saw this one. And the problem is this attacks the queen. The queen moves back. And here white gets the knight to f4.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of weakness on e6 and d5. A lot of pressure.
The e6 pawn cannot be defended. Yeah. So, like, let's say queen b7, knight f4, knight d8. We have rook a7.
Yeah. This is just killing. In fact, after queen c6, knight d4, at least a piece is lost. I think bishop e3 is a very important move.
Yeah, it is a very being very alert kind of move, because the queen was on the same rank as the pawn, and there were good chances of defending it. But now after bishop e3, the queen has to move to a worse square.
Absolutely. And Alexei completely didn't see this coming. You could see it from his expression right away. And with this, Vidit has really increased his chances of trying to hit back. We also have a poll on the YouTube channel chat. So do go there and check it out and vote if Vidit will be able to hit back on game 3. Queen b7 played, and knight f4 also played by Vidit there, attacking the e6 pawn. Completely crushing, yeah?
Yeah, f6 was such a natural move, to create counterplay, and but it's giving immediate chances to white.
Absolutely. Knight into e5, and the bar doesn't seem to be any kind of a black. Does this also allow some rook e7 since the knight is out from c6?
And maybe first we take knight e6, rook moves, and then we play rook a7.
Right.
Because we'll have some knight d4 ideas also. Knight d4, queen c6, knight d4, queen d6, knight b5 we can take. Or I was thinking the e knight.
You mean this knight, yeah?
Yeah. No, but queen c3 is the option, yeah? So
yeah, queen c3 might potentially bring in some counterplay.
So maybe we can play knight into e5 also somewhere, because like after knight e5, because black cannot take knight takes c5.
Knight e5 here or after rook
I'm
e7?
thinking here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, please go on. Let's see what it is.
Yeah, but f e5, rook a7, queen c6. No. So if he knight c6 first.
Knight c6?
Knight e6.
Knight e6, sorry.
Yeah, rook f6 maybe, yeah?
Yeah.
We can't give all this plays also.
And now rook a7, yeah?
Yeah, rook a7, queen c6. Not sure.
Yeah, but here I think white has... white should have something here. At the very least, you can just take this and go queen g4 check and take the d7 knight. But potentially something more as well. But Vidit has taken knight into e6 simply. This is also what we saw earlier. Knight into e6 first. Alexei responded with rook to f7, and now this is a massive advantage for Vidit. The only problem he has is that he's once again a bit low on the clock, but I think 4 minutes is still a lot of time for advantage this big.
So how does white exploit the advantage now? Do we go back knight f4? Is that an option also?
I think
Rook
you have to be a
k7
bit
is a
careful about the potential counterplay on c3
yeah.
and d4. Yeah, I think rook e7 is more of a way to go. Rook e7 and try and create problems with
So queen
the less space that
c6.
black has.
Mm.
Queen c6 and again not an easy move here. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it looks like white has all the pieces uh, ready to uh, do something, but there are no clear weaknesses, like no pieces hanging or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the practical inconvenience for white. Too many options, but they all look similar. Vidit has gone for bishop d4 though. I think a very sensible move. He just takes care of the c3 counterplay that black has and keeps all the positional triumphs that he has.
Yeah, keeps the b5 and d5 pawn weak to be taken later.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because it makes a lot of sense. Bishop d6 played by Alexei, defending the e5 knight for the moment. And once again, Vidit has to come up with a way to.
So maybe h5 can we go here so that we can, develop our f3 knight to f5.
Make sense. It makes sense. H5 is definitely one of the options. Black would love to get this knight out of the way with something like rook e8. And Westerners,
Yeah,
how
but
do we.
we have the option of going knight c5 also, no?
Yeah, but knight c5, it kind of spoils the pawn structure a bit. Yeah,
Yeah, but we get the pass pawn also, no?
true. But I do expect white to have something even more here. I I'm thinking something along the lines of starting with rook a7 and
In
oh no, rook
c6
a7 is a blender. Curve knight f3 check.
and queen a7 after this.
Sorry,
And yeah, queen f3, queen a7. No, not queen a7. What I meant
no,
to say.
just queen c6 and
And e6 knight is
yeah,
in trouble.
yeah, the e6 knight is in rook e6 is a threat.
Yeah, I'm
And
noticing
also,
that in this blitz, this on rapid games and blitz games, if you keep all your pieces protected, then it's harder for opponent to find quick tactical shots.
true, absolutely. I think that's very well pointed out. Keeping your pieces protected, it just reduces the possibility of something tactical happening.
Yeah, because in this quick games, we are always looking for direct moves, not for plans.
Yeah, true. Meanwhile, Vidit has played H5 Padmini, as you pointed out, and he's he keeps a very good position, but he has only 100 seconds remaining with only 2 seconds increment.
Mm.
H6 played by Black, which I don't
Yeah,
like
it's
so much because yeah,
yeah, knight
it just
h4
invites
and
knight
also
h4.
some knight g7 tricks will have. He played knight h4, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and talking about the time situation, how has your experience been playing online?
If I come down below 30 seconds, I just think my opponents are, trying to always flag me, which is not a pleasant experience. Because I know if I play over the board, even if I have 30 seconds or if we are playing a bullet game, I'll be as fast. But online, just this generation of players, new generation of players are just crushing me. So it's not a pleasant experience playing in
I
time
can
pressure.
totally relate to that. And I can totally relate to that. Rook E8 played by Sarana, by the way. Is Knight G7 going to happen?
Knight G7, Rook G7.
Knight F5?
Yeah, Bishop F8. I don't think Vidit will give up a piece because when you are already better, and maybe it's also winning, but why give black, some
Yeah,
counterplay chances?
true. You know with it. He went back Knight
Yeah,
F4.
yeah, yeah. Why give black something to be happy about?
Right. When you can get things without giving anything.
Yeah. So if we play Knight F5, I think Knight F3 wants to go. Yeah, Vidit goes Rook
Yeah, with
F1.
it,
No,
Rook F1. He's gone in
that's
all on this mode while he keeps his strategic triumphs intact. The D5 pawn, the B5 pawn, all the light squares. This is such a beautiful position for Vidit. But once again, really down on time, just 47 seconds. How big a factor do you think that will be in this game, Badmini?
I think Vidit is very quick in making this Rook F1 kind of moves, and Black really has to find something to do if you're not giving any tricks. And since Vidit is also getting low on time, I think it's a very good idea to keep the position, very solid and no counterplay for the opponent.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, keep everything protected. Yeah, so
Hey,
the
now
chances
Rook
of
K7. Yeah, keep everything protected. I hit. Did
yeah,
he took
he
and
took on D6 first, and then he goes Rook A7. Bishop C5. Is D5 hanging right now? Like
I think he will have to go Rook D8.
Rook D8, you can still continue with Bishop E7. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like the D5 pawn is lost inevitably because Rook
Yep.
D7, you just take
No,
it, right?
Rook D8, Bishop E7, and then we can play Rook D7. Yeah,
Ah, okay.
but we can
But
take F8 still.
yeah, also still E7 is protected, no? After you take on D5 and Knight D5.
Yeah, keeping the bishop is a good idea.
Yeah, Rook D8 played, but with a response with Queen to C2. And he still keeps a lot of pressure, but black is also improving. And with Knight E6, he is going to trade the second knight in with its position. The knights were the triumphs in this position. It had access to these beautiful light squares. But with this trade, black has really improved his chances. And the C4 square is also inviting for the knight, with white having a dark square bishop. So this is really, it's really
Yeah,
getting neutralized. Yeah.
yeah. Black is exchanging all pieces now. Oh my God, with its time has gone really low.
Yeah, 13 seconds. Still strategically superior,
Yeah.
clearly better bishop.
So let's go. I think Queen D3 might go. No,
Uh, no, he
we have
instantly
moved
played.
past it.
Yeah, rook a1 played by Vidit. He's trying to get the other rook in. Rook a7, queen g6.
So I think if we are able to exchange the queens here, then we'll be clearly better. Yeah, because one of the pawns B5 or D5 might fall.
True. Again, absolutely true. Exchanging queens and any kind of strategic operation will benefit white here. But yeah, because of the bishop and also superior pawn structure overall.
Yeah. And Vidit is getting ready for the endgame, I think, with King F2 is bringing the pieces near the center.
Yeah. Alexei probably wants to try and get some d4 liquidation, yeah?
Yeah.
Which is not easy to achieve because d4 there's always rook d1.
Yeah, but now I think he will go for D4 ideas, I thought. F5.
F5.
Queen D3. Yeah, Rook D1 is a good move, I think.
Yeah, rook d1 and queen d3 coming in next.
So knight D5. F5 feels like a strange move because also giving
Yeah,
this
F5 feels like a strange
D4
move.
diagonal. Yeah.
Yeah. And now Alexei is also getting low on time.
So knight D5, how do we respond? Because we
Queen
can't play
d2?
Queen D2, just Queen D2.
Yeah.
Rook D8 and we
He's
have
gone
bishop
rook
E6 also.
e5. Queen d3
Yeah.
played by Vidit, f4 and queen into
Yeah.
b5. He takes this pawn.
Yeah.
He takes this pawn. Sarana takes the pawn on h5, but I think white's pawn is so much more important. And with rook e1, he threatens rook e7. So chat, I think we are going to see a comeback from Vidit.
Yeah, we have to be, white just has to be careful about this some checks. But c6 knight will be hanging. So black doesn't have that much time also.
Yeah, the queen cannot move because of that. And Sarana is really struggling to find that counterplay that will help him. Bishop d4 played by Vidit. And Sarana would love to get his some kind of counterplay. So
I
maybe
think
queen
next
d6
we'll go queen
is
d6. Yeah. Queen
yeah.
d6, rook e8 check. King f7 has to come, I think.
Yeah, queen d6 played by Sarana. Let's see what Vidit does. He goes for rook e8 check. I guess king f7 now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
king
king f7.
Rook c8.
No,
Is it?
rook c8. Rook c8 is strong.
Queen
Because
g6?
after queen g6, there
Queen
is rook
b7
c7 check.
Knight e7. Queen into d5. Queen g6
No.
also we have queen d5. No, queen d5 is not.
No.
It's protected.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the time
careful.
trouble, the nerves.
But after rook into g2, we have king f1. Black doesn't have another check. We have one move at least.
Yeah,
Queen
so he
c6,
just goes queen c6, but now there's queen c2 check. Oh,
no.
queen c2
Oh
check.
my God.
And now black has a perpetual.
Oh,
no. Rook g2 check. He's missed rook g2 check. What is king e2? Oh my god. He missed rook g2 check, and this is just a complete implosion. He's getting mated. Oh my god, that just turned around.
Yeah, this is.
That's just such a pity. Oh my god. He played such a beautiful game strategically, but once again, with its Achilles heel, the time trouble, and both the games went this
He just
way.
completely outplayed black in this game.
Yeah, he just completely outplayed black in this game. But this was once again the critical moment. Queen g6, and he still had a defense here, but that was clearly not findable with just
And
4
queen d7
seconds
is
remaining.
it? No, queen c2 check. No, I think seeing this queen c2 check is not that easy also, because we are just, having our focus on the g2 square. And
yeah, absolutely, Padmini. And here the only winning move is queen to f1, according to the computer.
queen f1 is too tough to find. I think it's impossible to find queen f1.
Absolutely, it's impossible to find with 4 seconds for most people, in fact, almost anyone in the world. And it already got practically so complex around this point, so difficult for white, because this was like the only line for white to be able to get this game going, to save this game. That was
yeah, you're attacking and you're not thinking about you need to make a defensive move also. I think this was it's very tough and
very unexpected. This whole the way the games went for India today, it has to be, I think, one of the toughest days. Mitrabha losing 3-0.
And Mitrabha also had such a great position when we left, when we started watching this game.
Yeah, absolutely. But chat, bad days happen. We had good days in the last few days. We had Nihal winning, Arjun winning, and Raunak, all three of them through to the round of 32. Today was not the best of days, but this means we'll only have better days moving forward. Let's bring back the tournament tree once again and see what implications this has for the group.
Srinath, I have a question. So, do you think time plays such a important factor? Because in my games also have felt I get you get a like completely winning position, but if you're like really short on time, a lot of time it happens that we don't find the winning move in the most crucial situation. So, do you think if there is an option between playing a normal move or getting a huge advantage, but you have to spend some time, it's better to make the normal move and save time?
Absolutely, Padmini. I think being low on time, it really wrecks a lot of your winning positions. And this happens even for people like Nihal, who is like an absolute beast when it comes to playing with less time. He's one of the best bullet
Yeah.
players in the world. But
Yes.
so many games, so many opportunities where he's very good at not blundering when he has low time. But it also makes you miss opportunities like this. Rook C7, Queen F1. It's very complex, but if you have a minute, it's still findable. But if you have 4 seconds, then it's just impossible. No one in the world can do it.
Yeah,
And I
Queen
think
F5
second,
F1 is a very like it's like a classical portion. If you will find it or not, is also a good question.
absolutely. And the second thing is, I think it's also important not to get too low on time compared to your opponent. I mean, you can get into time trouble, you can get into 5 seconds, it happens a lot, but not when your opponent is having 4 minutes. That is, I think, too much. And in those situations, you have to be completely winning, but even then, it's not so easy. So I think it's better to start playing a bit faster from earlier. But that's also a fine balance because when you play fast, you play weaker moves. And we know this challenge, especially I think when we are playing against these super strong players. Uh, you play too fast, you get into a bad position. Kind of what happened to the Mitrabha Duda match today. He just got outclassed because he was playing against a stronger player. He tried to play fast, but he just got into a worse position. He was getting outplayed. And if he played too slow, then he's getting into trouble in the clock. So it's just not easy finding this balance, but one that you can only again solve with a lot of practice. You practice a lot and you find your ideal balance.
Yeah, and you choose between the lesser evil.
Right. And we have the tournament tree out there. Once again, a clear picture on the right side, all the things going right for India. Raunak winning his match against the former world champion Topalo. Vishy unexpectedly losing against Pavel Pancrato, but online chess not his home turf. And I'm sure we'll see Vishy roaring back into having great results when he plays in the European Club Cup in October. And Nihal winning his match against Prof. Mamedo, a thriller, setting up this most anticipated clash against Vladimir Kramnik. And we also have a super exciting match coming up in Arjun Erigaisi and Rajabo. And do catch the broadcast on the global channel as well. Some pretty exciting matches coming up, like
Yeah.
Jan Nepomniachtchi against Peter Swidler, and a bunch of interesting matches. That's those are the Indian players remaining in the round of 32, and I'll leave the final words to you, Padmini, if you have anything to say.
Yeah, I think these matches are really interesting, and a lot of these top players are playing, and we can see their video and live emotions. So it's very interesting, and to learn how they're playing, also how they're playing in pressure situations. Like we saw in with this game, he played such a great game, and he was playing such fine moves, and exploiting Black's uh, not so correct play from the opening, but we saw that how time also played a factor, and we all these lessons we can also take and apply in our own games. So I think these are great matches and great learning experience for me as a player, and I'm sure for the audience also, for the chat. Um, these are very good experiences.
Absolutely. Very good experiences, and it only gets better from here. Chat, meanwhile, we will have the dates of the next round out there pretty soon. It will be there on the chess.com social media channels. So do subscribe to chess.com India out on Twitter, on Instagram, or YouTube, so you can get updates on the match timings. And that's a wrap up from us today. Thank you so much, Chat, for staying with us through. Thank you so much, Padmini, for joining us. It was lovely commentating with you. And
Yeah,
see you
thank
all.
you. Yeah, and I
And
know all these players. I have seen some of them. I know Vidit, and they always come back, and I'm sure they will bounce back with better results and in the coming matches and tournaments.
absolutely. On those words of positivity, we will sign off today. Thank you so much, chat, and see you all for the round of 32. Dates announced pretty soon.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you everyone. Bye.